Okay. So, Carolyn, whenever we're talking about just like frequency throughout the day, your Carolyn's question was, go ahead and repeat it for me. It wasn't so much of a question, but you were just kind of saying how you're feeling better. I asked you
Yeah,
about
uh,
frequency throughout the day, how often you're eating meals.
right. I just wanted like how do I meet a calorie goal? I'm struggling with that and I don't know if I need to eat a specific calorie goal or if it's just eating, more of the right foods or portions. Like, when I'm full, I stop eating. Like I'm not gonna push it. So I'm just trying, and I've noticed that with taking in more water, even more water while eating, um, I'm not eating as much.
Yeah.
So like when I'm recording portions, I'm recording the portions I'm eating. So I just on my app, whatever that app is that I have that I'm supposed to be using here that links with you. Which app is that? I've got so many apps on my phone. It is that MyFitnessPal app. When I
Yep.
go in and record, some days it's like you have not met your goals or whatever because I'm really below. So, I don't know if it's me not recording the correct or if it's just like the one day I wasn't hungry. I mean, I ate two meals. I just
Yeah.
wasn't hungry.
Yeah, so there's a couple layers to the question, and I'll try not to overcomplicate it. But whenever we're trying to meet total calorie goals, the easiest way is to just do some simple math, and you can look at how many meals per day you typically have. Most people are typically between 3 and 5 meals a day. I like to count my snacks as meals because we're trying to consume a good portion of protein whenever we're having our snacks. But let's say that we're eating 4 meals per day. And what'd you say your total calorie goal is?
I had 1,400.
Okay. And then, like we said, we can talk about that and everything. But if that's your goal, then we would take that number and divide it by four. So 1,400 divided by four. We're looking at about 350 calories per meal. So we would look at how many grams of protein you're consuming, how many grams of carbohydrates you're consuming, and how many grams of fat. Now, if you're using MyFitnessPal, it does the math for you and it'll tell you how many calories come out of that.
Right.
Most of our fitness trackers do that for you as well, but we would just try to aim for around 350 calories per meal. Okay, so
Okay.
breakfast, we're looking for 350. Now, one thing that you mentioned that we didn't get on the recording is that you were talking about your breakfast choices. I always think that starting out your day, trying to accomplish as much of that goal, not necessarily get as many calories as you can in, but make sure that we're on track towards that goal early on in the day. It's going to make it easier as we go through lunch and the rest of your meals. So, one suggestion for the rest of you listening that I gave to Carolyn was to find some sort of staple breakfast. I suggested breakfast burritos. They're a really good option. But one thing she was sharing with me is that the breakfast burrito, she can't fit that amount of food in the amount of time that she has before she goes to work in the morning. So we can have different options for anybody that struggles with eating a large amount of food early in the morning or just like having the time to cook or really time in general. I like protein shakes. If you have a protein shake, you can add in any of the carbohydrates and healthy fats that you need to make that compromise a full breakfast. For example, if I'm using a protein shake as a snack, if I'm at the gym right here and I just want to get a quick 30 grams of protein in, I will simply put a scoop of protein into my shaker, go over to the water fountain, shake it up, and I have that ready in 30 seconds. If I'm on the go in the morning, and let's say I don't have time to cook myself eggs and a full burrito like usual, I will take that same protein shake. Maybe I'll use almond milk instead of it. This is going to be different, the ingredients for everybody based on what your goals are. But I use a serving of peanut butter for my healthy fat. I put some oatmeal into my protein shakes to make sure that I get my carbohydrates. And that one shake has all of the nutritional components that one of those burritos would have. I have enough protein, I have enough carbohydrates, and then enough healthy fats to get me through my day. And it's not overwhelming. It's not too much food. Most people can drink that protein shake fairly quickly, and it's not going to sit on your stomach too much.
Okay.
So that would be my first suggestion is find some sort of breakfast that works for you, because it's really important to get that in early. I notice with most of the clients that I work with, whenever we start up some sort of new nutritional, I don't like using the word diet, but meal plan, it can kind of feel like you're force feeding yourself at first. The number one most common issue that I see with new clients is that we actually aren't eating enough. Most people do have some sort of goal that revolves around getting stronger in the gym, but also looking a little bit better in the mirror and possibly reducing some body fat or even toning, defining that muscle. So we want to make sure that we're staying on par with those goals with our nutrition. Okay.
Okay. But
Um,
that's a good idea. I just, I have to coordinate my time. It's just, some
yep.
days are great. Like on the weekends, I'm fine. I eat my breakfast, I do my thing, like I eat my lunch, I eat my dinner. It's more of during the week when I'm just crazy with everything. So,
Yeah. And I mean, that's where I think a big thing to be aware of whenever we're looking at like what we're intaking and like what we're eating throughout the day is what our relationship with food is. I love food. Like if you know me, I love food. I'm a big foodie. I love going out to restaurants, but I have also fully accepted that food is my source of energy. I use it to replenish myself. This is what I need to survive.
mhm.
I do enjoy food, but I try my hardest not to use it as some sort of crutch to relieve stress with. I try to use other vices for that. I work out. I try to live a healthy lifestyle so that I don't deal with a lot of the stress that comes in that aspect. And we can talk about that as well. But I think one thing that's important is don't go into every meal that you have thinking like I need to be eating the best tasting thing in the world. I hope that like comes off correctly, but we need to go into our meals knowing that eating this healthy option is going to help us get closer to our goals. We're going to feel better because we eat this, not worse. And that's the goal out of it, it's going to push us further along. So my rant is kind of getting at something. If we don't have the time to make that delicious smoothie in the morning where we put ice cubes into a blender and we use our almond milk and all the fancy ingredients, you can still have dry protein, dry oatmeal sitting ready in a cup, and all you have to do is pour some milk or water into it the next morning, and it's still ready to go in 13 seconds or like
Okay.
30 seconds. Might be a little bit chunkier than it is if you blended it up, but at the end of the day, we can still get it in, and your body's still going to process it the same exact way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sounds like a
So
good plan.
so that was tackling breakfast. And your overall question was like, how do I get the whole day in? Like I was saying at first, you may feel like you're overeating a little bit and you may feel like you're telling yourself to eat when you're not hungry. If we do that consistently, your body's going to start to adapt to it, just like it did with the workouts. I'm sure the first day that you came in here, going from one exercise to the next, you're like, oh, this is a lot. I don't know if I can keep doing this without rest. Um, Over time, your body adapted to it and you became accustomed to it. Same thing with eating. Typically, after 2 to 3 weeks of following a new meal plan, you might notice you're going to wake up with a little bit of an empty feeling in your stomach whenever you wake up. And that's your body telling you, hey, replenish me. I need more energy to get through my day. And that's ultimately what we want to happen. Okay.
All right.
So we can use that. Sorry to keep ranting. I just know this will help other people as well. If we do that same thing for breakfast, for your snacks, if you don't have time throughout the middle of the day, whenever you're at work or even for lunch, we can have those same protein shakes made up ahead of time. You can do overnight oats, which is more of a solid food option, which takes the same amount of time to make as a protein shake. There's tons of options, and I'm more than happy to share those different recipes with you guys.
Okay. That would be great. If you could share the recipes, that would kind of help, like through an email, so I can print them out and then I can prep. Because
Yep.
I find if I prep during the week, I do better than
Okay.
if I have to do it that morning. Like if I can do something the night before, I tend to follow it a little bit more.
Okay.
And I have been using the Vital Source protein, so I do add that usually to my morning coffee. That's my
Okay.
shake in the morning. Um, it's probably not the best thing, but it's after I've had my water, I put it in my coffee and take it with me to work, so I finish it. So I do get that protein in there. but it's just getting myself on a better intake so that I'm meeting the goals that I need to hit in order to
Yep.
burn that fat. And that's my goal, is to burn the fat,
Okay.
like, and build muscle. I mean, that's ultimately my goal.
Hey, that's what we're working towards.
Yep.
And you kind of mentioned it. I think it's really important that there's a lot of questions and unknowns whenever it comes to nutrition and fitness. And there's a lot of like preconceived notions that were put in our head in the past. I think starting somewhere is the most important part. So if you're taking a protein and you don't know if it's the healthiest protein out there, or if it's something that like one of us coaches would personally consume, don't necessarily let that stop you from getting started. Ask questions. That's what we're here for. If you take a picture of that nutrition label and show it to me, I'll be more than happy to tell you if I think it's a good option or if I think we should go in a different direction. But you started out on this call telling me that you're feeling better. You even kind of mentioned, like, I don't know why. That's good. I want you to start that journey, start feeling that process, like start that process. And we're just going to keep getting better and better from there. I really do try to hold a general philosophy of like, we don't need to be perfect. And if we aim for perfection, all we're going to do is stress ourselves out, but we can aim to improve every day. Even if it's the littlest bit, 1% improvement, that's getting us closer towards our goal. And we're going to consistently work at that. Okay.
All right. Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Now, I don't have any other questions listed on the sheet, on the form that we send out ahead of time to you guys. Adrian, I'm not sure if you're available to talk right now, and if not, that's okay. But did you have anything that you wanted to ask or cover today?
Um,
Sorry to throw you on
sorry, my
the
my no, my butterfly rash is really bad. That's why I have my video off.
That's okay.
Oh no, I had a question and now I forget.
Hey, that's okay.
All I know is that like I I think my issue is that I've been prepping myself stuff, and I think it's like a good amount of things,
Okay.
and then I go to work and I have my breakfast and I have my lunch. But then I think it's only been the past like week or so that I've noticed this, I guess because like of my thyroid issues I've been having. But like I'll make the stuff and then I'm like, "Oh, that was only 700 calories and I still have 1300 calories to reach my goal." So
Okay.
I don't
So
know. I think my sizing ratio, it's like I think it's more, but it's not. I don't know.
So the way that we solve that is we just need to get a little bit like pay a little bit more attention to our portion sizes. Do you happen to have a food scale at your house?
I do.
Okay, so I can teach you because there is a little bit of math involved, but I can teach you how to start weighing your foods so that we can make sure before you even like put that food in the pan and cook it, that it's going to come out to the caloric goals that you're looking for.
Well, I think it's mainly just on the days that I go to work because
Okay.
I'm like, "Oh, this is fine. This is whatever." But I don't realize that when I'm home, I usually like I have breakfast and then I have like a protein snack and then I have lunch and then like a snack and then I have dinner. I think it's just when I'm at work and I have those 10-hour days where I really don't get to sit a lot. I think that's where like I lose that I lose my two snacks.
Do
So
you
then by
want
the time I'm home and I eat dinner, I'm like, I don't want to eat anymore.
okay. Do you underpack whenever you go into work, or do you just not have the time to get to your food?
I don't have I don't have time to get to my food
Okay.
issue.
So honestly, my easiest suggestion would be to start, and I know that you have protein shakes, but I would start utilizing those. I think that they're the easiest go-to option whenever you're just like kind of on the go. If you look at the nature of like my night times here, typically it's 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. We have our classes. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched between classes, but like there's maybe 2 to 3 minutes for me to like use the bathroom. if that. So I utilize protein shakes. I don't know if you guys see me drinking them, and if you don't, that's awesome because it means I'm kind of like doing it discreetly, but that just shows how quickly you can get those calories and the macronutrients that you need in. Typically throughout the day, we want our meals to be more protein based. So that's why I kind of keep going back towards the easiest two ingredients that you can put into that shaker bottle without them like spoiling or getting mushy or anything. You can just simply put a scoop of dry protein and a serving of dry oatmeal, or even a little bit less than a serving if you don't want that many carbs, whatever meets your goals. But if you just have those in there ready to go and filled out with water and shake it, that's going to get you everything that you need for that snack. It might not have the healthy fat in it, and we could always like add that in as needed, or we could replace that into other meals and just kind of make up for it for what we didn't get in that snack. I
So
know
when you're talking about oatmeal, though, are you talking about like the quick oats or the old oats, the old fashioned oats or the steel oats?
like I forget which cut I like. I don't like I want to say it's old fashioned. I don't like steel cut, I believe. Old fashioned's the one that's a little bit like flakier, but
Yes.
be mindful not to get real raw oatmeal. Don't go get like the flavored packets of like dinosaur oatmeal.
You mean the one that my husband eats?
The one that the eggs is it tastes delicious and it's fun, but no, that's gonna put a little bit more sugar than we want into our diet. So
Right. Okay.
and that's
What
another
about
thing in general. Whenever you guys are making your protein shakes and stuff, look at what the base is. Meaning like if you're using water or almond milk, me personally, I try to use unsweetened almond milk because my protein has enough flavoring and enough sweetness in it that I don't need the extra 15 grams of sugar that comes in the almond milk. Things like that, like whenever I personally consume dairy, I try to stick to either 2% or skim milk whenever I'm doing that, just because I don't need that extra fat and those extra calories whenever I'm trying to have a protein shake. Whenever I'm cooking and like if Jenny's baking or something, that's a different story. And that's a whole different subject because those are cookies and sweets, so we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, I like to look at like what my meals are made up of. And I think that's important whenever I look over a food log and I see, and I know I'm kind of going in a different direction now, but if I see somebody tell me that they had chicken, rice, and broccoli for lunch, was that rice that they made themselves and seasoned on their own? Or was that a Rice-A-Roni box that has a bunch of ingredients that we don't know about, a stick of butter added into it? And those are the little things that are going to add up over time. So with this, I always encourage you guys to like stay as clean as possible. If you don't know how to cook something, like I used to cook those those boxed pastas and rices all the time. Honestly, after a couple of weeks of learning how to cook rice myself, I would never go back because it tastes so much better. Little things like that, I think, go a very long way. Adrian, did I help you out at all with that? With getting your
my other I've been I'm sure you've seen it, but like I've been putting like powdered protein in some of my food, but then I just realized that like when I looked at the bottle, it's like, oh my God, my brain can't work. A 2 tablespoon serving of just that powder. It's funny because it only has 60 calories. It has like 5 grams of protein, 6 grams of carbs, but it has like only it's like less than 2 grams of fat, but could that still be considered a healthy fat if I put it in a protein shake?
So I wouldn't consider that a healthy fat. I'm not. I'd have to look into exactly where that fat comes from. But whenever we talk about healthy fats, think about your omega 3, 6, and 9, like your fatty acids. With your what I would say about healthy fats is typically most of us, especially if we're not vegetarian, we do tend to get enough of those healthy fats in our diet throughout the day. Or at least we tend to get enough fat in our diet throughout the day. Making sure that we're getting good sources of fat is really important. And I can give you guys different food lists to look off of for that so that we can make sure that we are getting those fats in because they are important for things like brain function and hormones and everything. But I wouldn't be as concerned about getting enough fat as I would be about getting enough protein. Typically, whenever I'm going over nutritional like logs with people, it's the protein that's under, and usually fat's a little bit over. Potentially even carbs are a little bit over. Usually it's protein that people need to focus on getting more than anything. And that's kind of natural if you think about it. We require a lot of protein to reach the goals that we want, that most of us are trying to achieve, whether it's weight loss, gaining muscle. Both of those require a lot of protein in our diet. Now, kind of forgot where I was going with this. Sorry, guys. You want to make sure that you're consuming enough of that and not over consuming the other things, which is typically carbs and fat. So I guess where I'm leading with this is don't worry too much about the healthy fat in those protein shakes. Let's try to prioritize it more for your protein. And if you need to get more carbohydrates in, we can start adding that oatmeal as well.
Okay.
But as I was saying before, for you specifically, whenever it comes down to food, now, if you're using the scooper, luckily, like protein, the companies like already weigh that out for you and have everything figured out ahead of time. You can do the same thing with any of your meats, your vegetables, your starches. If you weigh your meat before time or ahead of time before we cook, that's going to give you an idea that if we have 16 ounces of meat, that's about a pound, and that's going to equate to X many grams of protein. It's going to be different depending on if you eat chicken, steak, fish, and so on. But we can go ahead and start teaching you what those foods consist of, or you can use something like MyFitnessPal, which does it automatically for you as well. So I know a lot of this might like sound confusing, and you're like, I don't want to have to do math every time I look at a breast of chicken or something and wonder how.
Oh no, I do math every time I cook.
So, for me personally, I have counted macros in the past, and they work very, very well. At this point in my life, I have been working in the gym for a long time and dealing with nutrition. So I can look at my plate and give a pretty good guesstimation of what my plate consists of. I know that in general, one egg white has about 6 grams of protein in it. I know that on typical, breast of chicken has about 24 grams of protein in it. I know what half a cup of oatmeal consists of, and so on, rice, pasta. So I can look at my plate and know if that's supporting my day and my goals for the most part. Early on, I think it's really important to inform yourself and start to teach yourself what foods consist of what and learn how to use those nutrition labels and read them properly. So at first, counting all these macros and everything, it can seem a little detail oriented and a little bit stressful. Just know that it doesn't always have to be that way. The goal is to teach yourself what you're consuming throughout the day. And then as we go on and you start to get more comfortable with it, we can adapt. Okay. Now, we have about 5 minutes left on this call. So I only have you two guys on here, and I have no other questions. Do you guys have anything else that you want to talk about? Like anything that you just want to cover? Anything floating on your mind?
No, I kind of like the new program with us only doing, I feel like I don't know, with it going and you're constantly going back and forth between two activities.
Yeah.
I just feel like I don't know, maybe that's part of it because it requires you to really amp up. And I guess cardio wise, I feel better. I don't know. I mean, I'm also walking. Well, obviously I won't be walking today, but I'm walking between 1.25 and 4 miles a day. So like yesterday I did 3.5 miles or something like that. I don't know. It's on the app because I connect, to the app. So, you know, I don't, as I said, but I really do like this new program. Like I like the way it is set up, which is a little bit, we used to do 3 and 4 things, and this is just, I feel like we're with us turning from one to another, like it really is intensifying the workout. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Personally, me and Nick were talking about this earlier this week, and we like the switch from what we were doing the past couple weeks. I like the last program as well, but this one, it really gives you guys the opportunity to just focus on those 2 exercises. make sure that you're pushing it for those, not worrying about anything else. And I think in addition to that, whether I know with us afternooners, we've really been pushing our weights lately, and not necessarily just trying to go heavier and heavier and heavier, but we're being mindful about it and taking a smart approach. You guys have been tracking your weights. You're starting with better intentions as you go through the week. One thing for those of you who like haven't had class with me lately, I've been really encouraging everyone to, over the 5 sets that we do those 2 main movements in, I've really been pushing everybody to try and get to their working weight, meaning the weight they were using last week that was challenging them, possibly the heaviest weight or right below it, within 2 to 3 sets of these 5 sets. So for example, if you started last week for any given exercise, let's say we squatted and we did 8 reps at 25 pounds for 3 sets, you felt good and you worked up to 30 pounds and then stayed at 30 pounds for your last 2. So we did 25, 25, 25, 30, and then 30. This next week, how about we start at 25 for the first set, warm up, but immediately go to 30 since that we know that we're capable of it. Do 30 for the rest of those sets, and then possibly try to work up towards 35 in that last set. Just make sure that our overall workload and our total volume is going up from a weekly standpoint. And eventually you're going to reach a point where you're going to notice like, hey, I can't go heavier. I can't do more reps. And that's what I like to call our sweet spot for training. That's where we need to stick. We're slightly out of our comfort zone, and we're going to keep pushing ourselves until we can do the next step, whether it's controlling our form better with a slower tempo, adding more reps to the equation, or possibly adding more weight. Always trying to get better and better with each week.
Yeah, I found that with this week on Monday when we went in, we were doing the deadlifts because I ended at 88 pounds for the deadlift. But I knew that last set, that when I got to set 5, I was like, it was hard. I struggled to get to the 8th. Like I really had 8 reps.
Yep.
So I know next time I'll start one below for my warm up, but then I'll be pushing for that 88 so I can see if I can go up. But there was no I was going up this week.
Yeah, and you'll see maybe next week you'll be able to hit those 8 reps, and that's how you know that you've made improvements since this week. One thing that is certain about strength training is your body can't just magically lift heavier weight and you can't just add more and more resistance to the same frame. Eventually that frame isn't going to be able to handle that. So just know that if you are adding that resistance, and especially if you're keeping your form on par as well, there's things changing behind the scenes in your body as well. Your body's responding to everything that you're doing to it in here.
Good. All right. Well, I'm going to see you in a couple hours.
All right, get ready. But no, you two have been doing great lately. And for anybody else listening, please keep submitting questions ahead of time. I'm more than happy to answer those, especially if you guys aren't able to hop on these calls. I know it's a little tough in the middle of the day, but like hearing from everybody. I hope this was valuable to you guys, and I will see you all next week at 1:15.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Bobby.
See ya.
Bye-bye.